going to talk about grep and its basic usage, some variations of grep, and extended regular expressions with grep. Okay, so first of all, if we go to the terminal and we just man grep, we should be able to find some information about its basic usage. So in its most simple way, you can type grep, an option of some sort, a pattern to look for, and a file or any number of files to look in. So we'll start by having a look at its basic usage. So we'll do grep, for example, man story.txt. So it's looking for man in that file. If I hit return, you can see it basically finds all the instances of man in that file. And as we said, notice there we can have any number of files we want. Let's say I've got another file I add on, it will now look for man in both of those files, and there we go. Alright, so we'll talk a little bit about some standard options we can use. Two very common ones are -i, which means to ignore case, and if I basically go up, repeat the same command with -i in place, you can see it finds this additional man with a capital M. So it could be capital M, capital A, capital doesn't really matter, mixed case is fine, however you do it, it's going to find it either way. Another very common option is the -v option, which is kind of like the opposite of, find everything with man in it, and then ignore it and print out everything else. So it's kind of like almost the inverse of what you did previously, or the opposite of what you did previously. And there you go. Okay, it finds finds all the lines that don't contain man effectively in any way. Okay, so that's sort of basic usage of grep and some common options. The next thing we'll have a quick look at is I think it's a little bit more complicated when we can use this -e option. That can be used in a couple of ways. We can specify any number of patterns for one, so you can look for 2 patterns, 3 patterns, or if a pattern's got a dash in it, you can use the -e to protect it from being that pattern itself as being interpreted as an option. The -f option allows you to specify a file full of patterns, and grep will use the patterns in this file to search through the file or files at the end here. So let's give that a go. So we're going to do grep -e first of all. Let's do -e man and -e try cap, for example. I know both those things are in story.txt, and you can see it now finds anything with a man or a cap. Now I'll just show you these two files whilst I'm here. I've got story.txt and I've also cat gender.txt. I've got man cap. Okay, so let's say I now want to do the second of those things. I want to search through, I'm going to use the -f option to search through everything. I want to use gender as my base for my patterns, and I want to search through story.txt. Okay, again you can see because gender had man and cap, it's found everything in that file in the story.txt with man or cap in. Okay, so that's the basic usage of grep and some common options. We're now going to look at a few different flavours of grep, I suppose. There's egrep, which is, we'll just go back to this, egrep, or equivalently grep -e, therefore used with extended regular expressions. There's fgrep, or grep -f, which basically, when you don't want any regular expressions at all, you want to interpret the pattern just as a straightforward string. And there's rgrep, where we are simply searching recursively through the directory. Okay, so you don't need to specify a file with that one. So we'll look at that next. Now, by default, if we look back to the contents of story, you can see that it's got these two these two things in it, jar.s and this one here. The only difference between the two is I've got a dot in one and a h in the other at that position there. Now, if I do grep without the -f option, so I'll do grep joh.s, let's say I want to find that, and I want to find it in story.txt, you actually print out both of those. It's because grep uses basic regular expressions of some sort by default, and it interprets this as just being a single character, and therefore any single character, and therefore both of those are fine. So you have to, if you want to actually stop grep finding both of those and you're just interested in literally jo.s, then do minus f, put that in, okay, and it's going to give you just the one option that does that. So that's what the minus f does. It stops this being interpreted in any way as a regular expression and just finds everything as a string. You know, exactly what the pattern matches exactly what's in here, and there's no regular expressions at all. Right, so if we move on from that, we're going to look at the next one, which is grep minus r file 0. That will find, it'll basically list every file that contains file 01 and the line with that. So if I hit that, you can see you don't need to specify a file now, and you're finding all the files that contain that, and it'll also search through subdirectories as it's done here. And that's how the recursive option works. Another final one, we're going to look at grep minus e, which is probably one of the most useful because it can handle extended regular expressions. So let's say in the first place, and I put quotes in to stop the interpretation of this part of the command by the shell. Let's say I want to look for this. This is a regular expression that basically it's an alternation that means either man or cap. Let's say I want to search for that in story.txt. It's there, but it doesn't really work, and the reason for that is it's probably actually looking literally for brackets. So if you want it to understand that as a regular expression, you need to put backslashes in front of everything, as grep would work normally, and then it will find them. Okay, so if you want it to sort of understand that as a regular expression, those things to be as a regular expression, you need to put backslash in front of them. However, so if you don't want to keep doing that, and let's face it, we don't want to keep doing that, you can use the -e, okay, to make grep understand that's an extended regular expression. Hit return, and you find everything with man, everything with cap in it, as before, and that's all fine. Okay, so we've gone through those different flavours of grep. We're going to now look at extended regular expressions in a little bit more detail. And the first thing we'll look at is alternation, as we've seen here. And when you use a syntax like this, all it really means is find man or cap, or anything else you want to look for. So maybe I want to look for ja again, and we hit return, and there we go, man, cap, or ja are all found in that file. Okay, so that's how alternation works, and you can keep going. The next one we'll look at is beginnings and ends of a line, actually, because that does come up a lot. So let's say I want to find all lines that begin with, let's put a little quote, SU, for example. And there you go, you find all the lines that begin with SU. Let's say I want to find all lines that end, they call it a caret, so caret SU, lines that begin with SU. Okay, lines that end ICA, okay, which should only be one of those. Hit return, and you find that particular line. Okay, let's say, okay, so that's basically beginning and end of lines and alternation. There's also a sort of a set way of searching for things. And I'm going to use it like this. I'm going to say beginning with, alright, and it's set very much like the alternation, except it's for single characters. So this will be S, lines that begin with S or P or W, say. Okay, and I'll just end that. Story.txt. Oops. I see why. Okay, just clear that. Alright, and it doesn't like that because I've not put the final quote in, it's got confused. There we go. So S or P or W, it's found lines that begin with any of those things. So it's like alternation, except it's for single characters, that one. Okay. Okay, and you can also use arrange with that. So let's say I want to find anything from P to S, maybe. Anything that begins with P to S. We print that out, and you'll just get S and P. Find something in the middle. What about if I do P to V? All right, and you can say you get S, P, and V because we're looking at the characters in the alphabet between P and V, starting with any of those. Okay. Right. So that's sets, alternation, and beginning and end of lines. We'll look at a little bit of repetition now. Okay. So let's say I'm going to use Grep Z. I want to look for. We'll go with the SU. I'm a bit lazy and I want to have, and it'll interpret this with the U. This will be interpreted as finish it off. Story.txt. This will be interpreted as SU, then between 2 and 3 U's. Doesn't affect the S, it's the U's. And this is an example of repetition now we're looking at. You can find it finds the one with 2 and the one with 3. Okay, you could go up. Another way you can use this syntax is quite common. You can do 2 or more. Okay, and it'll do that. If we go back maybe and find, we'll just change that to 1 or more. You can see it'll change things again. Yeah, find 1 or more U's, and there we go. So that's one part of repetition. There are various commands. There's the question mark, which you can use, which means no or 1 instances of the given character. There's the plus repetition character, which means 1 or more. It's a bit strange really, yeah, but there it is. And there's a star, which means 0 or more. Let's maybe try using some of those with the above. Grep minus E, quotes SU, and let's try none or 1. And this time I'm going to do a query and I'm going to put a P afterwards. So it's looking for, with this string, let's close that, story.txt. It's looking for S followed by 1 or, sorry, question marks, no or 1, so 0 I suppose, or 1 occurrences of U. Okay, and there you go. It finds SP, for example, Spider-Man it finds there because that's got 0 U's. Okay, so let's try it with the same thing, but now let's try it with a plus, which means 1 or more. There you go, 1 or more. Gives you everything with 1 or more using it. And finally there's the star, which is 0 or more. 0 or more, which, there you go, you find everything like that. Actually, there was one thing with the sets that I didn't quite cover, and it's a kind of different use of that caret symbol that we had above. So let's go back up. I'll just show you that. So if you use a caret outside like that, that means the beginning of the line. But you can also use the little caret symbol inside the brackets. Alright? And it can mean then not. It's like a not statement. So let's say not S, for example. And we'll have, so the outside one means the beginning of the line is not S, as I understand that. And there you go, it finds everything that isn't S in that file. Okay, so the caret with the sets can be used in that different way. Okay, that's pretty much everything. There is lots of other things you can look up about this, but I think that certainly gets us started. Thank you for listening.